not notifying about the particular bill being filed, so that wasn't intentional. There's a lot going on. Thank you, council colleagues, committee members. Before you have a resolution, 1515 discussing the statewide action that's taking place as a campaign, I was approached by some members of our community, students, in particular from Adams, working to participate in this particular measure. The idea is not only to bring about awareness with texting and driving, obviously that is an issue, and more so an issue with the youth of this community, more so than the adults, but all folks. But making sure that they have a reasonable opportunity to represent South Bend in this particular campaign. This campaign will yield some results for them if they are winners. It helps them to be a part of a $5,000 scholarship gift if successful for college, post-secondary education. There are also some other things that can be and will be talked about during the presentation. I'm not going to steal their whole thunder. But as it relates to the city of South Bend and South Bend Code, City Code, some years ago, Councilmember Karen Wyatt, past Councilmember Ann Pizzello worked on a draft, and obviously got it passed with no handheld devices or talking in school zones. As you see, there are signs posted around school zones, asking you not to be on your cell phone. Within that, there was another conversation about how that could be enforced, if it's enforceable, et cetera. Again, the students that are coming before you will be able to explain some of those things to you statistically. But the other conversation that goes along with that is that if this is already a statewide law, and we have a law as well that's sort of supportive of that, is there any appetite or any room for this council to put a little bit more teeth into the school zone deal, and maybe go into a full all-out handheld ban across the city? So maybe you have to drive your car. If you are driving your car, you have to have a Bluetooth or something that allows you to be hands-free, sort of like what they have in the city of Chicago. But we're going to allow the students to come and present to the council right now to talk about the contest, to talk about how this works for them and better of the city, and also the safety mechanism that needs to be in place to make sure that we stay safe from those who text and drive. You have it.
I'm Mac Buchek,
And I'm Melissa Hicks.
and we're from South Bend New Tech High School. And this is our presentation on texting and driving, underestimated danger to public safety. Basically what we're going to be covering is we're going to go over some facts and statistics about texting and driving. We're going to compare it to impaired driving. We're going to see the economic cost it has on Indiana and the U.S. as a whole. Just to start off, this is a comparison between loss of life now, and it's just based on teens, not adults. 8 teens die a day now from drunk driving, while 11 teens die a day from texting and driving.
Wow.
And it's really surpassed drunk driving in the last couple of years. It's become one of the top killers to teens in the U.S. And the two pictures at the bottom are just to give you kind of a visualization of just the people that are lost each day. Damage to cost just basically goes over the economic loss. Distracted driving costs $180 billion with total costs, and impaired driving costs $75 billion. What I mean by total cost is not only taking into account the amount that is lost in an accident, the damage, but it's also taking into account medical bills and the loss of life for the economy. Distracted driving costs the U.S. $46 billion. That's just the all-out damage from an accident. And it costs Indiana $3.3 billion annually. And 17% of the total economic losses from motor vehicle accidents stem from distracted driving. Impaired driving costs $49 billion annually, just with...
Sorry. And this is our other group member, Sasha.
costs $49 billion annually just from the straight-out accident damage. And it costs Indiana $2.4 billion annually. And it's 18% of the total economic losses from motor vehicle accidents. And the bottom right is just a bar graph to really show the damage in billions for the total cost of the U.S. And as you can see, distracted driving is way up there now.
And the lack of information. We wanted to find out exactly how many citations have been issued and texting and driving accidents. So we called the South Bend Police Department, and we did have a difficulty like getting a hold of them, but we eventually did, and they told us that 0 to 100 citations have been issued and no record of texting and driving accidents.
So basically all they really had was more of an estimation. It hasn't been,
It wasn't recorded.
yeah, it wasn't kept track of exactly. It's hard to keep track of something like that because you can't tell if someone's texting and driving or if they're surfing on the web.
And what we wanted to find out was like states nearby, like how many citations have they issued, and we researched Illinois, they had 6,700 citations versus Indiana, which is 186. And the difference between their ban and ours is they have a total cell phone ban, while Indiana just has a texting ban. And this graph below is 16 and 17-year-old driver deaths in 2012. And as you can see, Indiana is one of the states that have increased, and others have decreased and remain the same.
We believe Illinois has remained the same because they've had the policy in place for longer and it's just kept it at a certain level.
Okay, the difference in support. ABC News did a study of 660,000 drivers, and 94% of those drivers said they support a ban against texting and driving. Whereas more than half of those same drivers that say they support a ban against texting and driving have admitted to texting and driving within the last month. Now, we think it's because they think that they are either good enough at it or they could get away with it. And 74% believe that cell phone use should be completely banned, so all handheld devices can't be touched.
74%?
Yeah, 74% of the people who were surveyed. And our mission is to inform, convince, and change. The way we're doing this is we have this scholarship that we found online. It's supported by the Indiana state government, and it says that if we get out there in social media and get the most retweets and favorites and likes on Instagram and likes on Vine, if we do all of that, each of us gets $5,000 to go to school after this. And then to do that, we decided that we're gonna make 90 tweets and put them all throughout the month of April. So 3 tweets a day, and then we're gonna do 4 videos. One of them are a student at our school. Her dad was seriously affected by texting and driving. He was disabled from it. And then, so she said she would let us interview her. And we're gonna do a TV compilation of TV shows that have hit on texting and driving. We're also gonna do a PSA. And our last one, we interviewed a state policeman, and we're gonna put that as one of our videos as well. And hopefully this will change people's idea of it. Some people don't think of it seriously because it's not strict enough in the law. And so we're hoping to change that. The associated Twitter handle is mhicks133, that's my Twitter handle. And the top here, we have this on all of our slides, the Text Leader Indiana hashtag, and that is supposed to go on all our tweets throughout the whole month. That's our presentation.
Thank you
Here's
so
one of the
much.
cited sources that we used.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much for your presentation. I think you guys did an awesome job. Councilman Diener, it's back
Who,
on you.
you said you talked, who did you talk to at the police department to find some statistical?
We called, I think it was crime statistics.
Right.
We called a few times and we had trouble. They didn't know who to patch us through to. We ended up getting the, what was it called, tickets? It was, I guess, the tickets department, and they didn't really have, statistics for giving tickets out for texting and driving.
When we're done, I'll give you a person to call. Because when I was there, I wrote tickets for that. And again, that's the issue when no traffic bureau, because in the morning, the day shift, they sit in school zones, and certain, you can monitor that when you're sitting and looking for that. In the general course of doing police work, you're doing other stuff, so
Yeah.
you're not gonna be that, but in the course of having officers in the school zone where you can monitor that. Because I probably, when we did that, I don't know, 20 or 25 tickets. But I will give you the person because those statistics they do have those, so I don't know why. So I will give you the person so you can get South Bend statistics. But again, in the big picture, which we discussed earlier, the police department doesn't have a traffic bureau. So you don't have the people who will be specifically in areas of town, you know, at the four-way lights, in schools, and areas where people are, you know, driving like they're used to doing this. So, but good job. Very good.
Thank you.
No, it's not my committee, it's his committee.
Oh, it is. Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, we will go down this way. If other questions, go ahead.
Sure, I'll just say first, I thought it was a really great presentation. Just had a question about one of the slides, just for my own knowledge. You had defined distracted driving versus impaired driving. How do you define, what is the definition of distracted driving? I imagine it includes texting, surfing the internet. Does it include anything else? And then impaired driving is drunk, high on meds, that type of thing?
Exactly.
Okay. Does it include anything else besides distracted driving, besides looking at your phone? What else would distracted driving include, just out of curiosity?
Eating, doing your
Okay.
makeup, I see it all the
Okay.
time.
I was just kind of curious as to building that, what distracted driving is.
Anything that takes your attention away.
Okay.
Running around with kids in the car.
And then impaired
Yep.
the same way. Impaired is
Having any
physically
passenger
impaired.
you're talking
When
to.
you're drunk. Okay.
Very nice presentation. Besides the resolution, what other things are you asking? How can the council assist you in this particular endeavor? And also, have you thought about maybe coming up with a questionnaire with this, say, focus on the students at the high tech, new tech, and ask them, do they, when they're driving, do they text or, you know, those
Like
kinds
a
of
survey,
things?
just
That's
a
our
survey.
own study.
Yeah, that might be nice.
Yeah, we can do that. And also, if any of you have Twitter accounts, you probably have a lot of followers in South Bend, so
Okay.
retweeting, favoriting, anything on the on the handle.
Is there anything we can do to help on Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook too.
Facebook isn't included in the
Yeah.
social
it's
media.
all-
Nice.
I was kinda surprised.
Twitter, Vine.
Twitter, Vine,
I'd
and
like to bring it
Instagram.
to Karen White, because
I'm
you're
sorry.
speaking. No, you're all right.
Okay, so that's
Everybody
something
else
we
was
can
talking
think about
about
too, you know, ways that we can help get the information out as well.
Okay, Dr. Furlick.
Great job. Can this advance to no cellular phones like in Chicago? I always feel safer, to be truthful. Can this be a city issue, or do we have to go through the state?
No, this could be a city issue, and that's what I was discussing with them
Right.
prior to them coming in here. So to answer that question, yes, there'd probably be a better conversation now with statistical information out there. And actually, there's a push to make sure that we're all safer, so. But it's up to the appetite of the council. I mean, you and I could sponsor, you could sponsor the amendment, because it's already out there to introduce no hand, you know, obviously hands-free. So again, we're here having this conversation, so hopefully the momentum, you know, moves past this meeting.
I think it's great public health.
Good. Werner?
Good job.
Well, first of all, nice presentation. I don't think when I was 17, 18, 16, 18 I would have been able to come before a body as august as this was. And make the presentation. Of course, we also didn't have those sorts of conflict to change things. But with regards to, I think you're addressing this in exactly the way it should be, with public presentations, information, statistics. The idea of asking South Bend, this is a personal philosophy of asking South Bend to have an ordinance that's extraordinarily or different from the rest of the state, I think is probably a wrong way to go, because you go from South Bend to Mishawaka and all of a sudden you're violating the law, very much unintentionally, and Derek would be happy to write you a ticket, I suppose, if you caught you, but nonetheless. I think that the idea of a statewide, I would spend as much time lobbying state to make the changes as local to make the changes, and I think you'll have then a statewide success rather than just a local.
Scott?
Excellent job. I think the thing that really struck me is when I think don't text and drive, I think don't touch the device at all. You know, to really point out the fact that that's not the case. You know, how can a police officer know if you're actually texting or, you know, you're even dialing numbers? I'm a big hands-free guy. I use my headphones in Siri. I drive to Goshen every day for work, so I'm off of it, but it drives me nuts when there's someone in front of you doing 40 in the passing lane because they're worried about whatever is on their phone. So, good job, I love what you guys are doing. I think local and statewide, this should be pushed. I think Ohio is the same way, it's, no,
No texting, but you can still web surf.
really on Ohio? Okay, all right. Yeah, but we gotta go that route, hands-free total. So, thank you, good job.
Councilmember Shea?
So, excellent job. One thing that I think is very compelling to me is when I drive into Chicago, they actually have signs that state how many lives have been lost. So, you know, X number of people have died due to traffic accidents. And when you go in, I mean, the number keeps on increasing. One suggestion for your campaign with the tweets and stuff that you do, if you could find a statewide number, and granted it would probably include the alcohol-related deaths, but it's a pretty big number and it's a pretty eye-opening statistic when you put that out there and people realize hundreds of people have died due to impaired or distracted driving. So my suggestion would be if you could find that number for the state for 2014, putting that out there would be great. The other thing is with the mediums that you have, I think most of us are Facebook people. I think Henry's a big Twitter person.
Social media altogether.
Yeah, he's a social media guy. Henry would probably be able to put you in touch with all the media folks to help you. Aaron Blasco and those guys. He's not here. But to get how many retweets do you need?
It's just
It's a
depends on-
contest, so
yeah,
whoever gets the
whoever
most.
gets the most.
So, yeah, so you need to use you get the Tribune and SPT and all that on board.
Push our.
Because we are varying degrees of social media experts here. That's being kind. But I think if you go to the local, media, they could give you the maximum tweets.
I would say, I agree with that. It'd be nice to have you on one of the 16, 22, 28, or 57 morning talk shows, or all four of them, you know, because that would give you some great publicity with that. And also with the different school boards in the area. I mean, of course, South Business takes care of one section, but have you gone to any of the other school boards to talk to them
No,
about
this is
that?
our first presentation.
Okay, cool. So school boards and that would, and also the county council. Talk with them, this is what I would suggest.
All right, we have about 6 minutes left. Anyone like to speak in favor of this?
I'd like to what do you, send it to the, public first, okay, go ahead.
Okay, you can speak tonight at the formal presentation if you like. Anyone doesn't want to speak against, may have a recommendation from the committee.
Send 15 to the full council favorably.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? No. All right, thank you very much. Good job.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you so much.